As year 3 of the Dennis Allen era begins, expectations nationally for the Saints are low. Las Vegas predicts a losing season, but you'd never know that out here in California. Clint Kubiak is raising expectations for the Saints offense, and 2 new players, 6 and 99, are drawing raves on the defense. Is this team really ready to turn the corner? Can they surprise their critics? We'll deep dive into that question tonight.
From WWL Sports, this is a Black and Gold Training Camp Special, sponsored by Rouse's Markets, the official supermarket of the Saints.
Hi, and welcome to the campus of UC Irvine and our Black and Gold Training Camp Special. That is Ricardo LeCompte. I am Doug Mouton, and for the next 30 minutes, we will deep dive on this Saints team. Ross Jackson from the Locked On Saints podcast will join us in a minute, and Seth Lewis back home in New Orleans.
Yeah, we're going to analyze this whole first week and so of training camp, and we'll start with where the biggest question is, and all the question that everybody has going into this offseason. It's with this offense.
Yeah, no question about it. The Saints ran Sean Payton's offense for 18 seasons. That changes now, and that new offense early in training camp is fueling optimism. What exactly will this new offense look like? That's the big question at training camp. Dennis Allen described it by saying the Saints will run a few core plays with multiple variations out of multiple looks.
We're going to run what we run, but man, we are going to give you a ton of different looks. We're going to give you a ton of different movements, shifts, motions.
A ton of play action with offensive linemen on the move, a lot. Starting with the weapons, Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are not really San Francisco model receivers. They're not big and physical, but they can both fly. The new offense begins with elite speed on the outside.
It allows us to play pretty free, a lot more confident, I feel. I feel like as a whole offense, we feel like just more confident within the offense and ourselves.
One thing that's become apparent early in training camp, the Saints need Alvin Kamara. No running back on this roster can replace what number 41 brings. The gap between Kamara and every other back is huge. The offensive wild card, of course, is Taysom Hill. And the twist is he'll be used more this season as a fullback. The fullback's role is now expanded in a big way in this offense.
We have made more of an emphasis in running the ball. You know, I think that we've ran outside zone more than we historically have here. But the intent is to get really good at that so we can run, nakeds and boots and stuff off of that.
But the only way to make any of it work is with solid offensive line play. The Clint Kubiak system should emphasize the athleticism of his linemen. It's a system built for Eric McCoy and maybe for Trevor Penning too. Penning's athleticism is what got him drafted in the first round, and so far he's kept the starting right tackle job.
I think so far, I've been pretty comfortable doing some good things. I mean, there's obviously, a ton of stuff I can still improve on. But I take that day by day and just keep improving every day.
Rookie first-rounder Tali Fuaga seems to have already locked down the left tackle job. He's been outstanding. But the depth on offense, really across the board, is thin. They really need Penning to be solid, and they need their stars to play like stars. And they need Derek Carr to be the quarterback they hoped he would be when they signed him. But there's no doubt about this. The new offense has given this team new life and new hope a week into training camp. And I think that's a point you can't argue. The team is playing with a different spirit in this offense. You feel it really on both sides of the ball. Will it work or not? Obviously, we don't know yet, but you feel it in the team. All right, I asked Ricardo and Ross to each come up with one item on offense. We've seen all the practices so far that stand out to you, something that strikes you as this is really interesting about what's going on with the offense right now. Ross, you go first. What stands out to you a week in?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me so far is the freshness of the offense. we're seeing an entirely new approach to that side of the football. You mentioned 18 years of Sean Payton football going in. Now all of a sudden we're seeing a lot of different pieces that haven't really been incorporated in their approach over the course of the past few years. We're seeing a lot of motion before the snap. We're seeing a lot of motion at the snap. We're seeing a ton of play action as well. The runs getting towards the outside. There's just a lot of elements going on across this offense that maybe we have seen kind of trickle down over the course of the past couple of years, and certainly are seeing tick up in the more explosive offenses of the NFL.
Yeah, no question. We're seeing a ton of play action in this offense. And look, what I find myself watching more than anything else are the two tackles.
Yeah.
Talifuaga, in theory, this offense ought to be absolutely made for him. And Trevor Penning, although he's trying to earn this job and he's trying to get over the hump, the same is true for him, too. Let's start with Fuaga. Chase Young raved about Talifuaga today, called him smart and super strong, which are two good qualities to have in an offensive lineman. Fuaga looks like everything the Saints hoped he would be. We told Chase Young that this was Fuaga starting at left tackle. He didn't know it. He thought he had been playing there. And then Trevor Penning, just like it emphasizes Fuaga's athleticism, this should emphasize Penning's athleticism. It's why he was a first-round pick. He has a chance to be good in this offense. So far, I'd say he's surviving. The Saints think he's doing okay because he's still actually taking first-team reps every practice, so that's a good thing. So we'll see how Trevor goes. But so far, so good, I think, with the tackles. And Fuaga looks like a star. Ricardo, what strikes you?
Yeah, I've been watching the wide receivers, and obviously the Saints have a clear number one and number two. Chris Olave, of course, going into his third season, he just looks smooth out there. And, of course, just looks easy when he's just getting open for passes, showing off that speed. You're talking about speed, that number two receiver, Rashid Shaheed, he looks like he's going to elevate his game, especially in the passing game, because obviously he is a all-pro as a kick returner. But I really think he's going to make strides as a receiver this season. My big concern is that wide receiver number three. They need somebody that has some size, a possession receiver, and so far none of the wide receivers at camp have claimed that spot. I thought going in that Cedric Wilson, a veteran free agent that played with the Cowboys and the Dolphins, was going to be somebody that they could rely on, but he's now banged up in camp and really hasn't seized control of that number three spot. A.T. Perry was somebody that you saw flashes of last season late in the year, but he hasn't had the consistency enough to take down to seize that position. They need a number three position, especially for this offense, to get those easy yards. I mean, you can depend on the speed, but you're going to need a possession receiver in most of these possessions that you're going to have in games. Someone needs to step up here in that number three spot, and so far I haven't found one person do that.
Yeah, nobody has done that yet. That is for sure. The star of training camp, and look, the Saints, since Sean Payton got to New Orleans, have had incredible success with undrafted rookies. Guys like Rashid Shaheed, Malcolm Roach, who just left. They've gotten big production out of these guys, and there's a guy in training camp who has been the star in the first week. He's number 84. His name's Mason Tipton. He's a wide receiver from Yale. Now, don't think he's an Ivy League guy, that he doesn't have the physical skills. He's a little on the small side, but he can run. He led Yale to 3 Ivy League championships. He's in the tops of all of their school records, and Mason Tipton is absolutely turning heads right now in training camp.
You know, I think the most important thing to me is getting my teammates respect, and that's, you know, working the hardest, you know, helping out in any way I can, you know, doing whatever I can to help the team win. I think that was, you know, the first thing on my mind.
Yeah, Tipton's been a big surprise. Russ, what do you think? He makes the team or has a good shot to make the team? Certainly, he's practice squad at least, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's a lock for the practice squad, and he's doing a lot for himself to maybe do more here. The big thing is he going to be able to avoid being one of those training camp studs that doesn't pan out when it comes to the regular season?
Give us a few.
Well, there's Adrian Arrington was obviously a big one. Emmanuel Butler was a recent one. The running back and Abram Smith was another one. Joe Bocci, one of the linebackers from back in the day, was another big one.
Devino
Zigbo was a big one. Traquan Smith.
Just on and on.
Yeah,
and on.
I mean, there's a few of these guys, and I don't think he wants to add his name to that list.
No, but he's been good so far.
Yeah, we're just getting started here on our training camp special. Coming up, 2 huge additions are fueling optimism with this team. Plus, we'll go one-on-one with linebackers coach Michael Hodges. He looks like he is directing a group that will be a strength for this defense. That's coming up on our Black and Gold training camp special. Welcome back to the campus of UC Irvine. The Saints linebacking core is stacked, especially with the front guys. They are bringing the coffee daily at training camp. Linebackers head coach Michael Hodges hasn't skipped his cup of joe during these days in Irvine. He is bringing that same energy coaching this group.
It's the love of the game, right? You know, that goes back to my core. But also, if I'm holding the players to the standard of, as we've been saying this year, kind of we're the coffee of the defense, if I'm going to hold them to that standard, I got to be a part of that. So I think it starts with me and DeMario, and then it works its way down.
Yeah, explain a little bit about that coffee of the unit. You guys are trying to set the tone and set the pace at practice,
Sure.
right?
Sure. I think it's important for the linebackers to be consistent in their energy. We talk about high execution, being violent, but the overriding factor is the energy. So that EVE concept that we have in the linebacker room, we're really bought into it. And so as a group, we're just trying to lead with energy, and then we'll clean up the other stuff as we go. But it starts with effort.
How impressive is it to see a 35-year-old playing at the elite level that he is in DeMario Davis, being that leader, being that voice, and still getting at it at his age?
Well, I joke, he's an alien, right? So there's a few aliens on the earth, and he's one of them. I just happen to be able to work with him the last 7 years, and it's a blessing for me. He's so intentional in everything he does, from his faith to his family to the football side of it. It really is incredible to witness, and it's just been a blessing that he's been able to do what he's done for so long and at an absolute elite level.
Well, one person who's been standing out in camp for me is Pete Werner, and I know in the offseason Willie came in, and that competition between him and it's really kind of seemed like it's kind of brought his game up to another level. Do you kind of see that from Pete?
Yeah, and I don't know if it was because of Willie. If you get the more New Orleans gets to know Pete Werner, the more they're going to realize that this guy is going to find any void in his game, any hole in his game, and he's going to try to fill it. He doesn't want any holes in his game as a linebacker, and he's really addressed those and attacked those. And sure, I think competition brings out the best in all of us. But Pete was going to take that challenge on that him and I had. All right, for him, with or without competition. But Willie's been a great add to the room.
Yeah, and I was going to talk a little bit about Willie. What has impressed you the most about how he's kind of taken to learning this defense?
When we bring in a guy who's been at a successful place, had a successful stint wherever he was, but jumps in and endears himself to the team, and he's done exactly that. Whatever role you have for me, Hodge, I'm ready for it. And so he's done a good job developing in learning this defense. He's better than he was in the spring. He gets better every single day, but he's got to stay on it. That's a really good group of three guys right there, and I'm excited about where we're going.
Let's back up.
Michael Hodges' energy is infectious, and you know who's making plays out there on defense because he's so loud calling out the guy. It does help us out when we're watching.
Oh, yeah, he's yelling, great play, DeMario, and you know DeMario made a great play. All right, same rules on defense. Yep. Ricardo, you've already got us in the linebacker room. That's your spot you wanted to talk about.
Yeah,
right?
and I really like this addition of Willie Green to the defense. It's a linebacker that is good at both in the pass and the run, and I think it gives this defense a little flexibility of playing three linebackers on the field during this regular season. We've seen that all through training camp, that they have had three linebackers on the field, not rotating guys out on third down situations or whatever. Three linebackers gives them a lot more flexibility to kind of do stuff. They don't have to always sit in a nickel or dime and have more defensive backs. They can have a little bit of size and a little bit of a linebacker presence on the field. I think that's a great addition for this. If you're looking at just linebackers in general, like these three in this front line, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, and they can absolutely run. Look, what I picked was the defensive end position because you got five guys who can play. Now, we've seen Chase Young. And look, if Chase Young became the single best defensive end in the NFL this season, no one would be surprised. That's how good his upside is. You have Chase Young on one side. Carl Granderson, you cannot forget about him. 8.5 sacks last year in a breakout season. Granderson was terrific, but it's not just Young and Granderson. You got Cam Jordan, who looks quicker than he was last year. It was a down year by Cam Jordan standards. Isaiah Foskey, the second-year guy from Notre Dame, a second-round draft pick, he had a good day today. And Peyton Turner, the former first-round draft pick, continues to be a camp warrior. Defensive end, Dennis Allen can bring him in waves, and it really could be a strength of the defense. Now, you went secondary, Ross, and one guy in particular, right?
Yeah, Kool-Aid McKinstry, the rookie that they traded up and drafted in the second round, just feels like a perfect fit for this New Orleans Saints defense. With all the questions about the new scheme going on offense, they know exactly what they're doing on the defensive side of the football, and Kool-Aid's a perfect fit for it. Ran very, very similar systems during his time in Alabama working with Nick Saban. He adds to to what was already one of the NFL's best cornerback rooms. Now he helps to make it one of the deepest cornerback rooms, and he might be coming in on his rookie season, but there's a good chance he's going to see some starting opportunities because it's very rare you keep all 3 of your starting corners healthy for all 17 games.
No doubt he could play a ton of snaps.
Yeah, let's stay with that secondary theme. And coming up, Tyrann Mathieu is a New Orleans native who's a big leader on this defense. He's also trying to inspire kids in the New Orleans area. Seth Lewis has that story from New Orleans. That's ahead on our Black and Gold Training Camp Special.
Welcome back to the campus of UC Irvine. Now, early in camp, the Saints' 3 veterans on defense, and that's Cam Jordan, Demario Davis, and Tyrann Mathieu, all delivered a message that they think this team can still make a postseason run. You know Tyrann Mathieu would love to do it in his hometown. And Seth Lewis caught up with Tyrann not long before he headed off to training camp. Let's send it now to Seth Lewis in New Orleans with that story. Hey, Seth.
Hey, Doug. Tyrann Mathieu is the definition of a Louisiana legend. He was a star at St. Aug, a Heisman finalist at LSU, and a Super Bowl champion in the NFL. Mathieu's inspiration always came from his community, and now he aims to return the favor.
As a native of the 7th Ward, Tyrann Mathieu is living every New Orleans kid's dream by playing for the Saints.
Man, I would love to have a conversation with him. You know, like, how was it for him? Because he was here. He'd been here. I actually wanted that experience.
This is one of those communities, man, like, you can never really let it go, man. Like, you can never really leave home. And I think it's all about dreams and aspirations to, you know, come back home and, you know, represent our family, you know, put the fleur-de-lis on.
It's why Mathieu wants to inspire the next young star from the 504 with his 7th annual Heart of a Badger camp.
I mean, it's humbling for me especially, man. You know, I think the journey that I've taken with the support that I've had from a lot of people in this community, you know, try to be a reflection. Like I told those kids, man, you know, I was you like 15, 20 years ago.
The event not only teaches football skills, but serves as a back-to-school jamboree with games, food, plus backpacks given to every kid in attendance.
It's very cool because as a football player myself, he gives me advice. You know, he teaches me different aspects of the game as well as in life. He teaches me how to go about different situations in life.
It's a beautiful thing what Tyrann did for the kids. If more people come to the community like he did, more supporters, more big people, we can save our city.
This activity with the youth gives Mathieu a reminder of his purpose and also a boost of motivation before the games in the Dome begin.
My why has, you know, really always been, you know, family, community. Man, my kids, you know, they love to see me play football. You know, my family love to see me play football. And, you know, really all these people out here.
Mathieu is now entering year 12 in NFL, and he knows that his football career is closer to the end than the beginning. But as of now, he has no plans of slowing down.
You never want to, like, put that cart, you know, before the horse. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I've been fairly healthy the last couple of years. I still think I'm, you know, pretty productive. And so, man, as long as I go out there and, you know, help my team win, get 90 tackles and, you know, 4 picks, man, I'll play till, like, the hair fall out or turn gray. I don't know.
Mathieu was one of 29 players in the NFL last season that are from the New Orleans area, but Mathieu says he has bragging rights and tends to get treated a little different because of his Saints and LSU ties. We'll be right back with more of our Black and Gold Training Camp Special.
And welcome back to Southern California. Just wanted to make one quick correction. The Saints did not sign Pelicans head coach Willie Green in the offseason.
Not yet.
Willie Gay, the linebacker.
Right.
I'll get that. I've done that a couple times at camp, but yeah, that happens.
It's an easy mistake to make. All right, 1 week into camp, you feel better about this team or worse?
I think I feel about the same. I predicted an 8-win campaign for the Saints. That's what it feels like right now.
I feel like I like the top-end talent, but, man, this team has thinness across the board. That does it for our Black and Gold Training Camp Special. For Ricardo LeCompte, I'm Doug Mouton, and for Ross Jackson and for Seth Lewis. Thanks for watching.